Hello, welcome back to Life Enrichment with Hank Ballinger. Today we want to talk about wealth and what it really is. Wealth is not just having a bunch of money, really. So by the time when we get done with this podcast, you will see what wealth truly is. It is not just money. Wealth is about time and it's about freedom and what it can do for you. So that's what we want to look at today. First of all, the last two podcasts we had, the one before last, was about what is money. And I realize now I'm going to use the word money a lot of time. But when I use the word money, realize there is no money in the world. All money is currency. It's not backed by anything. It's generally called fiat currency, meaning it's just the government saying it's worth that. Okay, so these little green pieces of paper are just that. They're just little green pieces of paper, but you accept them, I accept them, and we say they have value and worth. So what is money? It's currency, but I'm going to use the word money because most people do. And money is an IOU. Now, if you remember on the last podcast, when you earn money each month or each week, you take that money, and that's an IOU to society, and that tells society they owe you. If you have $500, society owes you $500 worth of goods and services. If you have $1,000, society owes you $1,000 worth of goods and services. So the more you have, the more you are actually owed. But it also means the more you have and you haven't claimed those goods and services, what you have done is you have given society value without taking advantage of that. So let's look at what freedom is. Now we want to look at one of the truly great philosophers of all time, Jack Sparrow. Hold on. Captain Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack Sparrow. If you remember in the Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth Swann is around the campfire. And Elizabeth is talking about when he gets the pearl back, the black pearl. She says, "You'll be the greatest captain in the world." And he says, "Yes," but he says, a ship is not just a keel and a hull and a deck and sails. He says, no, he says, a ship is, what a ship truly is freedom. And if you think about what Jack Sparrow said there, he's exactly right. A ship is just not just about the parts that make it up. He could get on that ship and go anywhere in the world. He is not restricted. He has no boundaries. If you have this, that's what that's like. The more you have of it, the less boundaries. Just like the ship. The bigger the ship, the more opportunities. The more of the wealth, the more opportunities. The less that you are hindered by somebody else. So wealth is about time. It's about freedom. Get wealth. Get time and freedom. Now, money in itself really doesn't have any value. No more value, that little tangible piece of paper and the green ink that's on it really doesn't have much value. So you take that piece of paper, or you could take a piece of paper that you tear out of a notebook. Not really a lot of difference. They both are just a piece of paper. But one you can take down to Walmart and you can spend and you can get goods and services for it. Or you can go to the car wash, or you can go to the grocery. As long as you're not trying to buy eggs right now, you'll be all right. So there's a lot of things you can do with that tangible piece of paper. But that's not wealth. That is just money. Sometimes people have money, but not enough. They don't have wealth. They just have enough of those green pieces of paper to barely get by. And they can't build wealth. they don't truly have freedom. They're constrained by the shackles of having to work every day. And what we want you to do is become redneck rich. You remember, redneck rich means you have an amount of income coming in on a continual basis, but you don't have to work a job every day to have that income. That's redneck rich, and that's wealth, and that is freedom. So wealth is not just about pieces of paper and ink. It's about the freedom it gives you and the opportunities in life that you have by having wealth. Now let's see what wealth actually does. Okay, so let's say you had a bunch of those green pieces of paper and you had enough of them coming in that you didn't have to go work every day. So you have enough of that coming in. Now, let's say your car tears up, but it's not an old beater because you're wealthy. You have freedom. So what you do is, if your car tears up, rather than calling in late for work or calling and saying, well, I have to get my car fixed, so therefore I can't afford my house payment, or I can't afford my rent payment, or I can't afford groceries because I had to fix my car. If you have wealth, when your car tears up, you either fix it or you get another one. What about if an appliance tears up? You fix it or you get a new one. What about when your bills come due? If you have wealth, you pay them. Don't keep putting them off. If you have wealth, make sure you pay what you owe. That's what wealth does. It's that freedom. When a bill comes due, you pay it. That's what wealth does. It gives you the freedom of knowing I don't owe somebody and I'm trying to skirt around and not pay them. So we've been looking at freedom, but let's look at time. I've got the number 168 up here. Very important number for all of us. All of us, that number is important. Why is 168 important? Because that is the number of hours that we have every week. No matter what, the clock doesn't stop. It keeps ticking. That's what a clock does. And it keeps ticking no matter what. No matter what you're doing, if you're asleep, at work, it doesn't matter. It keeps going. You only have 168 hours, and that's it. So let's look at what those 168 consists of. Now, generally, if you're getting ample sleep, which probably a lot of us don't, but if we do, if we're getting 8 hours every night, if we're getting 8 hours of sleep every single night, that means for 7 nights, of those 168, of those 168 hours, 56 of those hours every week are going to be spent sleeping. Now, work. If we work a 40-hour week, some people may work much more. But a standard work week, or at least used to be, a standard work week is 40 hours. If you work 40 hours, then add that to the 56. Now you're at 96 hours. You're almost at 100 hours, and all you've done is sleep and work. So you've got 72 more hours that you have left in the week. So personal hygiene. Now, you get up, you brush your teeth, you shave, you get ready in the morning, you know, all the other things you have to do for personal hygiene. Consists of some time every day. So let's say 2 hours every day. If you spent that much, maybe even consider your workout in that. So all the personal hygiene every day, even if you spent 2 hours, that's about 14 hours a week. You're eating. Now, maybe some of us spend more time than 2 hours a day eating, but let's just say 2 hours a day are spent eating. That's 14 hours a week. Church and family, maybe we spend more time reading, studying. That's great. Maybe we spend more time with family. If you do, you may have to go up on this number. But remember, any of these numbers that you go up on just means you're cutting out of something else, because collectively these hours add up to 168, and that's all you get. So if you go up on something, you're going down on something else. So church and family, at least 2 hours a day, hopefully. Now, our free time. If we add all this up, we're only left with 30 hours a week left. That means for 4 hours a day, we have free time. Out of 24 hours we spend is 30 hours a week is free. But what about those 4 hours? Some of that is drive time. Maybe some of it is planning. I don't know what you may use those 4 hours. A lot of people spend it on just on the phone, just texting or calling or whatever. I don't know what you spend those 4 hours. But let me show you something that's very interesting about these 168 hours. Let's look at some guys. Jeff Bezos, maybe you know that guy or you've heard of that guy. He's the guy that started Amazon. Surely throughout the pandemic since 2020, March of 2020, everybody has gotten to know the name Jeff Bezos. He started a little company called Amazon. Done pretty well with it. Bill Gates started a little company called Microsoft. Done pretty well. Mark Cuban, done very well. He's a billionaire. Now, interesting thing about these guys. Now, there are many more. We could put their names up here, but these guys are billionaires, not millionaires. They are billionaires. But the interesting thing about these guys, they have no more hours a week than you and I do. How did these guys get to be billionaires with the same amount of hours in a week that we got? You would think, well, maybe these guys got 400, 500, 600 hours a week. If they built that kind of wealth in one lifetime, how did they do it? Well, they're very aggressive. They've come up with really good ideas. They've pursued those ideas, and they become very wealthy. They have the freedom to do a lot of things that they want to do. So one of the things they want to do is work in their respective companies, and they do very well with it. But again, they still only have the same number of hours in a week that you and I do. Now, I want to ask this question with all that we've gone over. We look at time, we look at freedom. I ask this question to a lot of people. When I'm just talking to them, a lot of times I talk about wealth and building wealth and money. And a lot of times I'll ask people when the topic comes up, how many hours do you spend a week building wealth for yourself? And do you know what my standard answer that I'm given is? 0. The mass majority of time that I have asked that question, how much time do you spend a week building wealth for yourself? They say 0. Well, why would we spend 40 hours working for someone else, building their wealth, but 0 building wealth for ourselves? We need to spend time, take some of that 4 hours. Now, eventually, if you got a company up and running and you could have enough income from that company that you could quit this job, whatever amount of hours you're spending in that job, and then you could quit your other job, then you would have that 40 hours a week to devote to your job, to your new job, which is building your wealth. Because this will give you time and freedom. You need to spend time on your personal wealth and freedom. Don't work for the other guy building his time and freedom. Learn to build wealth for yourself. Nobody can nor nobody should do that for you. That's your job. But you can do it. You can be Redneck Rich. Listen, I wish everybody would go out, build wealth for themselves, because the more wealth that you build for yourself, the more you're going to help and encourage others to do it for themselves, because you can be Redneck Rich and you can have time and freedom. Thank you.